right, what's up, you guys? So I just finished watching the final presser for the Gennady Golovkin Danny Jacobs fight. The fight is this weekend. I wish I could go, but I'm not gonna be able to make it this Saturday because the tickets are just they're too much. I wish I got them early, but they're too much, and I just recently went to two fights. All right, so I can't swing it this time around. But yeah, it was a pretty good press conference. Danny Jacobs had a very, very long speech. Okay, we normally don't see fighters talk that long in the presser before the fight, usually after the fight. But Danny Jacobs had a great, great speech. Very classy guy, really family oriented guy. I mean, I consider him to be a role model. I mean, not to me, but for young fighters, I think in New York especially, I think he would be a perfect role model, And I spoke on this last year when I made that video about Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, right around the time that they fought. How I thought those were two, great role models for young African American fighters. Of course, all fighters, but what I'm saying, I made a point in that video where there's not many young African American fighters here in America that are staying out of trouble, that are very family oriented. You don't see them getting locked up, and they're very dedicated. Danny Jacobs is very dedicated. He always stays fit and in shape. And I brought the same points up when I spoke on Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, and I even brought up Andre Ward when I made that video. But it was a very good speech, classy guy, a big fan of Jacobs. Those are definitely Triple G and Danny Jacobs are definitely my two favorite fighters at 160. Okay. I've never rooted against neither one of those guys. So in this fight here, I'm kind of sticking out of it because whoever wins this fight, I won't be mad. If Triple G takes the L, I'm cool with that. If he loses to Jacobs, I'm fine with him losing to Jacobs. I've never rooted against Triple G before. But if he were to lose this fight, I'll be cool with that. And if Danny Jacobs loses to Triple G, I'm cool with that too. Um, Both fighters, I think this is their best name to have on each fighter's resume, in my personal opinion. Regardless, not speaking styles or anything, I'm just speaking as far as names. You know, Jacobs' resume is not really that deep. We all know that he lost to Dmitry Perov years ago, okay? But he did knock out Peter Quillen in the first round. Whether or not you think the fight should have been stopped, I think, me personally, I think Danny Jacobs would have finished him off. And it would have been brutal if he did get the opportunity to keep hitting him. All right. Quillen, arguably, probably the better of, or I guess the best resume as far as all of the fighters that both have fought. I think Lemieux and Quillen both have similar resumes, but Quillen was undefeated. All right, that's the only difference between Lemieux and Quillen. All right, but I do think Triple G is going to win this fight. Okay, I think the winner of this fight is going to win by knockout for sure, without a doubt. There's no way this fight is going to 12 rounds. I just don't see the fight going 12 rounds. Um, Overall, I'm not going to give a long breakdown here. I think it's pretty simple. I think a lot of people that think Triple G is going to lose this fight are basing it off his last fight against Kell Brook. A lot of people weren't impressed with him. A lot of people, and I told you guys it was a lose-lose situation for Triple G because you either look good against a welterweight and knock him out quickly, or you struggle a little bit against a welterweight, and people are going to judge you based on that. Regardless of how good Kell Brook is, people are not going to care, And the fact of the matter is, I mean, I don't want to say the fact, but I thought Triple G lost 2 of those rounds in that fight. I know it went to 5. I know he got the stoppage, but he got hit a lot in that fight. He got hit a lot, and by big shots, and he was even backing up at some points. I've talked to people a lot. There's some people out there that feel like Triple G was trying to make it a fight. I personally don't feel that way. I thought in the Triple G fight against Monroe, I thought he was clearly letting the guy hit him. I thought he was clearly. I think he had no respect for Monroe. I think Kell Brook actually traded with him. I think Kell Brook was taking shots too, but he was coming back and firing shots. I don't think Triple G was just standing there purposely trying to get hit. I personally believe that Triple G didn't have any respect for Kell Brook, wanted to knock him out quickly, rushed him early, hurt him early. Kell Brook recovered, and he came back. And I think Triple G had no defense in that fight. He didn't fight a cautious fight like he did against David Lemieux. And I think that's why the fight went the way that it went, even though he still stopped Kell Brook in 5 rounds. Because people act like Kell Brook won the fight. People are talking, yeah, but you see that Kell Brook fight? People forget that Triple G broke half his face and the fight stopped in 5th round. Regardless of Kell Brook, not, still standing. And, Kell Brook didn't have anything for Triple G in that last round. And the fight, the towel was thrown in. It's just crazy because the fans see when you're a fighter that's so dominant, whenever you don't dominate, people are gonna come out and say, "Hey, he sucks. He's overrated. Look at him. He struggled against this guy. He was supposed to kill him. And since it didn't happen, it's like this guy's overrated. And that's just how it is. Just like Adrian Broner and Marcus Maidana. Fans were literally saying that Marcus Maidana knocked Adrian Broner out. Like, seriously, people that hate Broner was like, yeah, but he got knocked out, by Marcus Maidana. And it wasn't a knockout. He dropped him hard, but he fought and got up and fought the rest of the fight. That's how excited fans get, especially when what they want actually happens, especially with a fighter that they feel is overrated like Adrian Broner. He's not a very, well-liked guy because of his personality and the way he talks. He talks so much going into that fight that people were so amped that they were like, Maidana knocked him out, because he was undefeated at the time. And everybody expected Broner to dominate, But moving on back to the subject at hand. I just personally believe that Triple G is going to fight with caution. Because Daniel Jacobs he hits hard, just as hard as anybody. I personally think Jacobs hits just as hard as Triple G. David Lemieux, I think, hits very, very hard, as you see in this Curtis Stevens fight. These guys are very, very big time punchers. And Triple G is not going to be in there trying to take blows from Danny Jacobs. He's going to take the approach he took in the David Lemieux fight. He's going to fight behind his jab. He's going to be very cautious in there. All right. He's not going to be walking in there and trying to trade. And no, we all know Triple G has a great chin. He does. But he's not going to be able to take those shots that he took from Kell Brook, from Danny Jacobs. It's not going to be that type of fight. If he is to get caught with that uppercut that lifted him off the ground when Kell Brook got him, he's going to sleep if Danny Jacobs hit him like that. He's going to go to sleep. Anybody could get knocked out in this fight. I just think on a stylistic level, or a stylistic standpoint, Triple G got the better style between these two, and he's going to bring the pressure to Danny Jacobs. And if Danny Jacobs uses a lot of lateral movement, he's going to be moving around. If the pressure is on him like the Perot fight years ago, I don't think he's going to be able to sit down on his punches like he normally would. And Triple G is going to have that jab, a jab that can actually stun you, can actually knock you down. And Jacobs don't have the best chin in the world, okay? I think he's going to be caught by a jab. I think he's going to be hurt by a jab, maybe not knocked out, but I think he's going to be at least stunned by a jab. I think Jacobs has skills, all right? He's going to have to take risks, though. If he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to take risks. And I don't know, that's the part of where This is why I don't think he could win the fight, because he's gonna take a risk, and I think he could knock out anyone with one punch, you know. But I don't think Triple G is gonna be fighting like the way he fought against Kell Brook. I don't think he's gonna be reckless at all, you know. And Jacobs might get hurt himself trying to go for the knockout, you know. I don't know. He has boxing skills. Will it be enough to keep Triple G away? You know, how long, how many punches can he take? You know, how much punishment can he take? I just don't think he could take as much punishment as Kell Brook did with a broken eye socket, or like Martin Murray or Curtis Stevens. I don't know if he could take that kind of punishment for that long, you know? I don't know. And I don't think, as even though I think he's a skilled boxer, I don't think he's skillful enough to keep Triple G away for that long, to a point where he's landing consistently and not getting not getting hit himself. Okay, I think he's gonna land some shots, but is he gonna be landing more than Triple G? I don't think so. You know, I've seen Danny Jacobs get tired, you know, midway through a fight. You know, I don't know if he's gonna be able to do it, but maybe he will. You know, I know Chris Algieri is a great nutritionist, and you know he was through with him through camp. You know, I know Danny Jacobs had some new people in his camp this time around. You know, I think he's going to be in the best shape he's ever been. I mean, he should be. This is his toughest fight. I mean, Quillen was his toughest fight before, and then you know he won in one round. You know, but this fight is this is on a different level. You know, I think he's going to be ready. I think Triple G is going to be ready. You know, I think Triple G is going to have a different approach in this fight. I think he's going to be fighting the best Danny Jacobs. I think there's going to be a knockout. You know, I know Triple G got a great chin, but if Danny Jacobs win this fight, it's going to be by knockout. I don't see it going to decision. If it does go to decision and there's no knockouts, I expect Triple G to win. I just don't see Danny Jacobs outboxing him for a full 12 rounds. I just don't see it. You know, I don't see it. Anyone 160 and below, I don't see them just winning for a whole 12 rounds. You know, I think at some point it's going to come. You know, so that's my last pick. You know, I got Triple G winning by knockout. Couple things I want to clear up before I end this video. Couple things that I've seen people say or people have asked me. Someone asked me, you know, if Triple G were to lose this fight to Danny Jacobs, is he overrated? The answer is no. Was he? He's not overrated. Danny Jacobs is one of the best in the division. He's a good boxer. He hits very, very hard. If Triple G gets knocked out, I don't think he's overrated. All those wins that he got up until this point, whether you respect them or not, they were solid wins. He's a good fighter, all right? So if he is to lose this fight, I know people are going to run and say he was overrated, he's overrated. You don't beat all of those people in that fashion and be overrated. You know, if he were to lose this fight, I would still consider him a top 10 pound for pound fighter. And if Jacobs were to win this fight, he should definitely be mentioned in the top 10 pound for pound. All right. Another thing I want to bring up, Triple G, he's going to be 35 in 3 weeks. Okay. He's getting up there. I don't know if age and Father Time is going to start beginning to play its role. I personally believe that's what Oscar and Canelo has been waiting for. You know, I don't even think they're going to fight Triple G this year. Depending on how the Canelo and Chavez Jr. fight goes, I expect Canelo to win and to look impressive. You know, I expect him to. But I still don't think that Canelo is going to fight Triple G right away. I think Canelo would fight Lemieux or Saunders first before fighting Triple G. You know, regardless of him going to 164.5, you know, I still don't care which weight he fights at. I don't expect him to fight Triple G in 2017. That's just my opinion. All right, he waited this long now. He gave up his belt not to fight him, and he's not gonna fight him until there's something that's gonna show that Triple G is not as great. That's what I personally believe. All right. And that's it. So you guys subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you guys think. Who you picking for this fight? I think this fight, regardless of who wins, it will be by knockout. I think Jacobs, he needs to get the knockout early. The longer the fight goes, the more likely it's going to go in Triple G's favor. And Triple G, if he fights reckless like he did against Kell Brook, he can get caught with something and go to sleep as well. He got a great chin, but anyone can get knocked out, especially when a guy has heavy hands like Danny Jacobs, all right? So, like I said, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one.